Okay, hello everyone. Happy New Week. It's great having to witness this week. Yeah, I'm quite excited. Basically 2 days of going at or basically juggling a lot of things back to back, and I've been able to hit my goal. So yeah, so before we get into it, there's a video I actually want to watch and learn about agentic AI. Arigita is retrieval augmented generative. So I was like, let's watch this video for a bit and then continue.
Let's talk about concept called RAG, R-A-G, and what's the difference between RAG and agentic AI, and which one you should use. So let me break this down for you technically, but very simply. Let's start with the core problem that both of these technologies, RAG and agentic AI, are trying to solve. Imagine you have a large language model like ChatGPT or Claude. It's smart, but it has a critical limitation. Its knowledge has an expiration date. Let's say it was trained on data up until a certain point, let's say June 2025. So if I ask it a question about what happened in February 2026, it has no idea. It will either give you outdated information or it will just hallucinate an answer, come up with something that doesn't exist. Second problem is even for things it does know, it doesn't have access to your private data, like custom information. I cannot ask ChatGPT what was my company's revenue last quarter because it has no way to access my internal financial systems to get that information. And there is a third problem, which is the model can't take actions. It can only generate text. If I want it to actually book a flight or update a database or send an email, it just sits there and talks about what I should do to execute those actions. So it can just give me suggestions of how to do that myself. So here's the question. How do we solve these three problems? How do we make an AI system that has fresh, accurate, relevant information and can actually take actions? That's where RAG and agentic AI come in. But they solve these problems in very different ways. Let's start with RAG. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. It sounds very confusing, but let me break that down in simple terms. Think of it like this. Imagine you are a student taking an exam, and the teacher allows you to bring notes with you. You cannot memorize everything, so you just bring your notes. And whenever the teacher asks a question, you quickly flip through your notes, find the relevant information, and then write your answer based on what you found, instead of what you have memorized. That's exactly what RAG does. So here's the flow. Step one, you have the preparation phase. You have documents, data, or knowledge that you want to make available to the AI so you can ask questions about it. This could be your company's policies, a product documentation, customer data, research papers, whatever which is internal custom information of your company. These documents do not go directly into the AI's training. Instead, you convert them into what's called embeddings or vector embeddings. Now, again, what is that? Think of vector embeddings as a numeric representation of text or mathematical representation of meaning a text has. So every sentence, every paragraph gets converted into a vector, which is basically a list of numbers that represents what the text means. Because we understand text, computers understand numbers. So we take a sentence and we convert it into numbers that a computer will read. And then we store all these embeddings in a special database called a vector database. Examples of vector databases like Pinecone and so on. The important thing here is the database, the vector database, is optimized for finding similar vectors very quickly, which again means you have phrases and texts which all have numeric representations or vector representations. And this database basically has a feature to allow to to look up similar texts and phrases based on those vectors or numbers by comparing them together mathematically. So that's the preparation phase, where you take those documents and you convert them into vector embeddings inside a vector database. The step 2 is when a user asks a question. So everything is prepared, everything is inside this database, and now you can ask questions based on the information that's stored in there, which are your company documents, any custom information, or knowledge base. And the same way as with AI chat, you basically connect your AI chat to this database to look up the information whenever you ask it something about your company internal stuff, right? And then you can provide this chat either to your employees internally in the company or even your customers, like a chatbot on your website, for example. So let's say you do that and you have a chatbot on your website, and a customer comes along and asks this AI, what's your return policy for electronics? And let's say you have an online store for electronics that you are selling, and you have an AI chatbot on your website that is connected to the vector database that has all the information about your company policies, your products, all your electronics that you are selling. And a customer asks this AI chatbot, what's your return policy for electronics? So this is what happens with reg system. The system takes that question and converts it into an embedding using the same method. So first, in the step 1, it took the documents and all this information and turned that into embedding. Now it takes the question that the customer is asking and is converting it into vector embedding to represent the text the customer asked into the vector. So now your question is also a vector of numbers. Then the system searches the vector database and says, find me the embeddings that are most similar to this question. And this is called a semantic search. So it's not keyword matching, it's meaning matching. So how close is the meaning of this sentence to the meaning of sentences or phrases I have in the database? Trying to match exact words, like apple to apple, MacBook to MacBook. The semantic or meaning matching is when you know that a computer, a laptop, a MacBook, they're all similar to the word MacBook, for example. So when that lookup happens, the database returns the top results, which are the most similar to that question. So maybe it returns 3 documents about your return policy in this case. And these documents are the most relevant to the question based on the meaning, not just keywords. Then comes step 3, which is generation. Now here's the key part. The system takes the question and the retrieved documents and feeds them together to the language model. Here's a question. Here are the relevant documents. Based only on those documents, answer the question. The language model then generates an answer based on that specific information from the database. It's not making things up. It's basing its answers on real data from your documents. And this solves 2 of our 3 problems. First of all, fresh information problem, because you control the documents in your vector database. You can update them whenever you want. So you can always have fresh information for your AI to consume or base its answers on. And the second is private data, because you're hosting your own vector database. Your company's data never leaves your systems. So it's available to your language model, but it's still your custom data that only you have access to. However, it does not solve the third problem, which is that AI still cannot take actions. It still only generates text based on documents. Now the difference is that it's not just generic AI knowledge, is your custom, very individualized, your company-specific knowledge that you edit on top of the trained data. But it's still generative AI. It cannot take action on your behalf. And that's exactly where the concept of agentic AI comes in. So all of this that we talked about till now is reg or generation. So you're retrieving additional data from your custom data source, your own vector database, and you're adding that in addition to the LLM's training data as the base for the answers it should give on questions. And generate replies on. However, if we're talking about AI taking action on your behalf, That's where the concept of agentic AI comes in. So let's talk about agentic AI now, which is fundamentally different from REC. Agentic AI is about making the AI system autonomous. An agent is something that acts on your behalf independently without waiting for approval on every single step and telling it, now go do this, now go do that. It basically gets the task and it knows how to execute it in which order based on the tools it has available. So let's talk about that. Think of it this way. Imagine you hire an assistant, and let's say you want your assistant to book a flight for you. You don't tell your assistant, open Google browser, search prices, then compare them, and then book this one. That, first of all, that would take forever, but second of all, it's extremely inefficient. Instead, you would say, book me a flight, and these are like 2-3 criteria I need you to fulfill. You say, book me a flight to Berlin next Friday, preferably in the morning. This is the maximum budget. That's it. And your assistant figures out all the steps independently to achieve that final outcome. That's exactly how agentic AI works. And here's what makes an agent actually work. The first component is the reasoning engine. At the heart of the agentic AI is, again, a language model, but it's being used differently now. Instead of just generating an answer, it's reasoning about the goal. It's thinking, what do I need to do to achieve this final outcome? What sequence of steps makes sense, in which order? The second element is tools and APIs, and this is probably the most important differentiator here. The agent has access to tools, or you give it access to any tools that you want it to use. And these are not just documents or information, these are actual functions that it can call on your behalf. For example, it could be access to your Google Calendar. It could be access to a database query tool where you say, search our customer database for this specific information. It could be an API integration. You can tell it, call Stripe API to check payment status. Or the most classical one, or most common one, is a web search tool. Look up real-time flight prices for this and this date. Or an action tool like send an email.
Okay, so I think we have gotten to the key points. This, so retrieval augmented generation, the whole idea is similar to what your traditional, LLM, things like ChatGPT, how they work basically, whereby you enter an input and it generates an output in text format. You give it the action, what you expect, and the whole goal of RAG. Because my first experience with RAG happened, I think that was 2024 when I went to talk about it at a conference. That was when I learned about it and how to achieve it using Vertex. Google's Vertex, yeah. And it was quite interesting, the whole idea. And I think during the demo, I was able to have it set up for one or two businesses around as a demo. So let's say you have your own business and you want an AI customized to your business use case. We all know that, okay, your business data is not online. RAG really helps with that. And the use of a vector database ensures that it's quite efficient. But on the other hand, agentic AI is completely different. And the whole idea of agentic AI, what makes it beautiful is the action. And the perfect example she gave each other was, you can tell your AI to like book you a flight with a budget of 1.5. The AI will be responsible for going online, searching, basically making the decisions based on the available tools. Okay, she didn't talk about tools, that's me going low level. And this boils down to what Gigowi is currently about. So the Gigowi idea currently, I hosted it yesterday. The front end was hosted yesterday. I think the Twitter is the landing page. I hosted it yesterday, but I haven't connected it to the landing page yet. This is the landing page. My goal is Google have a Google Gemini Omni stuff going on tomorrow, and I want to capitalize on it to generate videos, emotional videos for posting and getting initial users. Now you can see no more dummy data here, but I still have to work on it. I still have to work on it. I use the sign in with Google option, but there's still some work to be done here. Like I've not onboarded completely. If I click this, go to profile, found out that a lot of details is not here yet. Okay, and yeah. So there's still some work to be done, especially on the UX section. But currently, chat is there, notification is there, transaction is there, tax is there. The whole idea of a pinned AI section here, I had to like take it off for the meantime because it wasn't adding up. I was trying to like, so the way I usually build a product is I add a feature and I critique it. That is how I work on a feature. So on critiquing it, I realized that is it really necessary to pin a Gemini this thing here? Because the whole idea is okay, this will be an agentic platform that will help clients get their project faster while serving as a project coordinator to ensure that the freelancers deliver on their tasks also fast. Okay, so does it really make sense? It's not just an LLM chat and response. So that's why I took it off and decided to watch a bit more about RAG and agentic AI today. Yeah, I'm listening to her earlier. I think that was a female, right? Yeah. Listening to her earlier, I think I got my answer through those sections. Like within the first 10 minutes, I got my answers. Anyways, currently there's no active tags, browse tags, none. I've hosted it. The backend is also live. Yeah, I hosted the backend on. Hope I won't expose any critical information. Anyways, I was trying to create a bucket for storing images. I also realized that actually a lot of things went on. It took me close to like 4 hours to it, get the backend to be hosted on Cloud Run. The front end wasn't an issue, just configure on Firebase. But the backend was quite stressful. Okay, it took me over 4 hours after actually 4 hours include the time it took host host the Firebase to deploy to Firebase basically. Yeah, so it took that amount of time. Anyways, let me share the code. Okay, this is it. So I'm currently working on. I realized something. The files are hosted and they upload. I didn't change it to GCS. That is Google Cloud Storage. So that was what I implemented earlier today. It just occurred to me while I woke up earlier. I was like, I didn't do that. So that was what I did, and I'm currently in the phase of going through the code and trying to see if this was done correctly. Yeah. For example, this now, I know that I had to make a research around this. Why wasn't the ID taken in and all that? And you can see if I highlighted it, application default credentials will be used. So things like that. That's the reason behind me trying to go through the code. And what else again? What else? I configured Firebase to use the two folder structure. A lot of people, I actually learned this on a project I work for a client. So a lot of people don't know that it's possible, but you can't really achieve it by using just Firebase init twice. I don't know if it's possible, but you just set up your config and set a target and apply it in the console. There's documentation about achieving it online. Okay, so that's just how you go about that. Currently, as it stands, users can sign up, explore the platform, create tags. The tags will be broken down by the agent and all that. But there's still some fixes to be made. I want to generate a video tomorrow, then possibly by 5th, share it around. I don't know if I will be, because another thing I thought about this morning was I need to take permission from Flutterwave to support international payments. I should just go live and the payments will be based in Nigeria. I'm still contemplating that. So I was thinking possibly I would disconnect, like users won't access the front end, they'll just sign up And then when the front end is available, I'll email them. And also, I need to implement an email service. Those things were missing. And they are key because when you sign up, I can email the user and tell them that's what's going on. And also, there needs to be a dashboard also. And I've not worked on that. The admin dashboard, I've not worked on that. So those are some few things I identified earlier today. And as it stands, yeah, this was a question out of the AI, and it was proposing creating an interface because I thought about it. Possibly, I move away from GCS in the future, and the code the AI wrote is, tightly coupled to Google Cloud storage. That won't be really nice. So I had to do that. So I'm currently prompting the AI on that, the coding agent on that, and trying to figure it out. So, anyways, let's see. Currently, it's hosted to Cloud Run, and also, if I push to GitHub, I created a deploy branch, which is this server deploy branch. If I push to it, it automatically updates the backend. And on the front end, I prefer to just use Firebase deploy. That's kind of straightforward, you know. So that's the state of everything on the Gigowi project. Yeah. And what else again? What else? What else is part of the plan for today? Yeah, I think we have up next is the tech news fees. Yeah, and also Redis. I got a notification earlier today that I've hit my free tier plan on Upstash. Actually, all this while I've been using Upstash for the Redis this thing, for the Redis layer that is attached to BlueMQ. Yeah. So that's another thing I need to figure out. Can I pay? Can I pay? That is what I'm thinking. Should I pay? I'm also contemplating if I should use Redis Cloud. Let me ask the AI. Because I'm thinking either of Redis Cloud or I'll host my own Redis instance on a VPS that is locked in that way. So VPS might be $3 to $5 per month, but at least do I have a railway free tier? I can host my VPS. I can just have a Redis instance running on the railway and use it. Should be able that work? Because I can't use Redis on the cloud. You're basically going to wreck me. I don't have anything currently. Like I can't afford that. So I can't use the cloud Redis alternative. And there's no trial fees. I don't think so. So I don't even want to think about it. Cloudflare KV. I have an idea about it, but will it be better? I think it's almost similar to Upstash. Because currently now I've sent the link to some few people who have signed up and they're currently like going through the platform making suggestions and things to do. So I'm thinking about it. And also I'm brainstorming about it using AI. What else again? I think it's time to just check out some TechCrunch news. So I was actually thinking if I should use Firebase storage, but what the road is using Google Cloud. It costs nothing to set up Google Cloud, and Google Cloud is quite generous. The only thing is I'll guide the backend, which AI can easily do. Just this morning already, the AI come up with a code just for me to review it, so that won't be an issue. Instead of using Firebase storage, that is kind of a bit costly than GCS. So there's something. Next up is the news phase. Let's look at some tech news to start our day and our week. Some Otman and AI is this debate. What is this AI decentralization? I think so. Malaysia is reportedly shutting down. Why? Let me see. And then inside the London hacker house, taking a stand against founder burnout. Let me see. Possibly I can. They'll accept me. This app store hidden gems prove there's still room for great software in the AI era. Should I open this? I think they'll just hype some apps there. Let me do. Maybe I'll get some inspiration from there. The global YouTuber Hungry says his AI is not healthy. Sam Altman is still making the keys for parenting via ChatGPT. Sam Altman can say anything like just to make that bread. So I'm not reading that. Should you still buy your next smartphone? Subscribe to it. Nah, I want to buy. I know what they are proposing here. The same thing they did with cars, whereby cars now have subscription. The same thing with printers. HP, I think they did with printers. People are complaining about it. Okay, let's see. Open here. Said maybe time to pace the rate of AI development. Oh, deceleration. Not it's AI deceleration. He has been saying this for a while. Like I think he said he did last year, so that there'll be how do they call it? Basically, the whole idea is possibly is running out of compute. I'm trying to figure out how to make revenue. I see Sam Altman like what he did with OpenAI, making that move of launching ChatGPT is quite respect on that. Like it's quite great. But Sam Altman, it's pedigree and everything. Like I know where he's heading with this. The whole idea is possibly AI development should be decelerated, try to figure things out. Doomsday prediction. Because everybody is now getting into the space and is trying to protect his kick, That's what is playing out. Because this breach, this OpenAI agent breach, is not something that big. It's still due to my mistake, not ensuring that, and that's why I review my code, like not ensuring that the person that built the sandbox, I think, or the human being behind the sandbox, is responsible for that. Okay. So I will listen to the podcast later. Tech podcast. I'll look at this podcast, listen to this podcast later. Look into what I did. There's some real stealthy cyber, or because it didn't need to be, it wasn't instructed to be. So I'm working on that stuff. Just wonder what the useful are because of yes, I'm not to put myself the framing kind of suggest that yes, on one part. Get to decide do we speed up or do we slow down? Speed up, please. Like, for example, the robotic space, there's a whole lot to be done there. There's a whole lot of ideas to be done there. It needs to be cheap, It's not easy getting into the robotic space. I could see that a whole lot of AI training going on in that space, whereby individuals are being paid to have camera attached to them, their reward activities in order to train those robots. So, like, there's a whole lot of things that can be done instead of slowing down deceleration. Okay. I'm saying pace it. See how this goes. Any question I receive. I think Elon Musk was part of those that once called, or if I'm not sure, but he was once part of those that called about the dangers of AI and all that. That's why OpenAI was founded. Yes, I think I've gotten enough of this news. The whole idea. So, personally, if you want to read the news, I didn't share the link. I read news based on the whole idea behind the news, and if there's clarity already, I move on. That's how I basically get to read my news. Okay. Sometimes I might still come back to it. Yeah. If I have a question, I might look it up or come back to that very article and read it again. network school reportedly grew out of entrepreneur investor Balaji Srinivasa's conviction that your country sells passive improvement. Hot dog. Kazakhstan. Okay. Is Kazakhstan is actually a nice country. I've been reading about it for a while, and I think the government wants to open up the country for tourism and people coming around. Personally, if I have the opportunity to visit, I will visit it. And basically, I've watched a lot of video about them, and it seems like a really high techy society, Kazakhstan. Yeah, 620 something in Islam and people to say anti San Francisco available is the holistic improvement like 12 feet days coming. It's called London Island Founder House. And I help companies learn how to deploy agents. The whole idea of this, to be honest, personally, it's not enjoyable. It's not enjoyable. Personally, some people might enjoy it, but personally, I don't enjoy an idea like that. Staying together and all that. I need to just completely I forgot to share the link. Let me go get on the call and share this. And then finally, this. They never left in the first place. Why some people debate whether people should as AI agent makes assessing and answering my favor. Personally, I feel like app will be phased out bit by bit. It won't happen instantly, but because creating and hosting an app now is like it's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's very difficult hosting an app at the moment. And this is coming from someone that has been building mobile applications. I've deployed close to 14 like this idea, to be honest. This algo idea. It's quite nice. And basically, there was an idea. This algo just triggered something in me. There's an idea I wanted to build all this way. Not an AI-based idea though. Should I say it on the stream? There's no one here. Anyways, the whole idea is around video player that is timestamped, so you socialize around the time something happened in a movie, and it's YouTube that inspired it. So you watch a movie, and when someone else is watching that movie, you can effectively socialize around that same idea. I might take note of that idea. Let me write it down. I built an agentic version of this. That was basically very AI initially. But this is like more focused with GUI, and something like this is better off having a GUI than agents. That was one thing I learned. People might not really want to chat because downloading image and all that. And also there's a restriction with using WhatsApp. A lot of people don't know. WhatsApp bot is more like a store. For example, you cannot trigger to prompt the user if it has exceed 1 hour and things like that. So it's not quite easy, like going working with WhatsApp on bots or something like this. So this is like a perfect idea. It's better off this way as a mobile app or a web app. Perfectly imperfect. Talk about what you love. I think with the recent update on X, it also have something like this. If I'm following someone, if me and someone's on mutual, I prefer to see their posts more than just anything, you know. seen this. Okay, so with that, we are done with the news phase. Up next is I think we are done with the news phase. Up next is just symbol.fun. So if you go to symbol.fun, I think my favorite game I've been playing like consistently for some days now is let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. This game is quite nice. This is it. This is basically my favorite game at the moment. So you can just click and swap. And then, I've been playing it a lot nowadays. Like if I'm stressed out, just use it to cool off. That is what I'll be doing a lot of with this game, and I really enjoy it. To be honest, I really enjoy it. Fruity Jam. So with that, we have come to the end. I will share the game. So in case you wanna play, if you want to play, it's in the chat. You can look it up. So with that, we have come to the end of the stream today. Today is quite long, 43 minutes. Like I'm getting a hang of it at the moment, and I'm enjoying the process more. Like it's quite nice learning when no one is watching. So by the time people comes around, I have a structure in place, to like figure a whole lot of things out. Yeah. So that's all, and have a lovely day ahead. Wishing you a